greetings from Arizona. That's where I've lived for the last 29 years. This is my first time to Utah. I'm honored to be here with you. The first thing I have to tell you, in life there are no commodities, only brands. Think about water. Water is a commodity, but not Perrier, Evian. Microprocessors are a commodity, not Intel. Lemons are a commodity, not Sunkist. Everything can be branded in life, and that applies to each one of your businesses. So I'm going to share a few thoughts about brands. Since I can't interact with you, if I had more time I would do that, let me jump into the presentation and show you some of the brands that we are talking about here. Can I? There we go. We're going to talk about brands. Look at these brands. Coca-Cola, Apple, Samsung. Let you read the list. I'm now reading your thoughts. If you look at these brands, number one, they're global, predominantly dominating consumer space. They have instant recognition even amongst people who cannot read or write. Illiterate people can recognize brands. And as you go into emerging markets, this is going to be the key. Let me give you another set of brands. I'm reading your thoughts. High tech, maybe business to business. But let me ask you this. If I look at a brand like IBM or Google, is it business to business or is it business to consumer? And the answer is yes. Today, it really doesn't matter whether you're going into business to business or business to consumers. It's whether the Joe on the street knows who you are. And why is that important? Because when you look at all these brands, they have four important properties that your companies need to have. They create instant loyalty. Many of the consumers become your ambassadors. Reduce your advertising costs. When you go into a market, channel members lay out the red carpet. You're able to attract top human talent to work for you. And above all, you get paid a premium. Studies have shown companies earn 20 to almost 80% more just because of the brand name. Last year, Coca-Cola made $6 billion just because of their brand name. And the accountants didn't know where to put it, so they put it on the balance sheet on goodwill. And where does goodwill come from? It comes from customers who love you around the world. Today, when Apple announces a product, there are lines standing around the blocks in many countries, not just the US. So I'm going to talk to you about how can a small person like me create a memorable brand. By the way, branding extends even to each one of you. People brand themselves. So I went back many years ago to an experimental psychologist called Pavlov. You might have heard of this guy. He worked with dogs in his lab. And he'd bring a dog into his lab, put a tray of food in front of it, and ring a bell. You know how dogs are. As soon as they get food, they love food. 2 hours later, Pavlov brings the dog back, rings the bell again. 4 hours later, brings the dog back. It's stuffed. That's the great thing about dogs. It doesn't matter when they eat last. They can eat again. Pavlov rang the bell this time, no food. And the dog goes, where's the food? And that's the amazing thing with dogs. They get conditioned by the bell to think about food. This is no different from my teenager. When Nike announces a new product, it just rings a bell. and my teenager goes, "Where's the shoe?" Or Apple rings a bell, and he goes, "Where's the iPhone?" "Dad, credit card number, expiration date." Brands create a powerful emotional connection. They ring a bell. And what you need to think about as a successful company, every time a company or a customer buys a product from you, what bell should I ring? So here are some ways to think about the bell you ring. Most brands, memorable brands, use a combination, the 1-2 punch. There are things about the brands that you can see, touch, taste, feel, tangible benefits. So when you think about Apple or Bose, it's the design that's memorable. If you think about chocolates and wines, it's the packaging that's memorable. And then there are things that you can't see about the product that you have to communicate. That's the role of marketing. So when you look at Nike, they use athletes for endorsement, because when you're buying a Nike shoe and you're paying $200, what you're really buying is athletic excellence. I can jump like Jordan, drive like Woods. That's the image that they're creating. Or when you're buying Disney, what they're telling you is, it's magic. It's fun for the family. So you need to use a combination of features that can be seen and features that are perceived, the intangibles. Good brands do that. I'm going to show you a brand here that does this, and someone from the audience is going to tell me which one it is. Let's see who gets that. So the essence of the brand is what you stand for. In this case, the brand stands for uncompromising power. The thing that you can see about the products that they make, they're gigantic, huge. You can't miss the size. What they are communicating primarily is our products can move mountains, and they're very reliable. Any guesses? There you go. The bell is ringing. Someone shouted out Caterpillar. That's exactly how branding works. As soon as you see these things, you recognize. And so your exercise for the day is to create this for your own company. Think about what you want to stand for, and it can be more than a phrase, 2 words, a sentence. And then think about features about your product or service that you can use. Attributes are typically seen. Benefits are typically communicated. And you use the two to create the essence of your brand in everything that you do. Another way to think about branding, you create the emotional connection by owning a word or phrase in the minds of the customers, and today it's global. You should be able to recognize some of these. I'm loving it. I heard that. I can hear McDonald's. Open happiness. Coke. See, it has nothing to do with the product. They are all creating an emotional connection. Connecting people, this is a dying brand, Nokia. Just Do It, I don't have to even bother. Solutions for a Smart Planet is IBM. So these are emotional benefits. It has nothing to do with what the product or service provides to the customer. Why is that critical? Because if it's just product features, your competitor can match you. The only way you're going to own a customer for life is to create some emotional connection and make that the essence of your brand and create taglines that resonate with them. Short and sweet, memorable. In technology-based businesses, if you're just fighting a feature war, you're going to lose. Bits and bytes won't win anymore. 2 gigabytes, 40 gigabytes. 10% lower price, 20% lower price. If you don't want to be a commodity, if you don't want to fight on price, you need to create an emotional connection. That's what brands do. So branding is actually like building a persona. If you were to describe your company as a human being, what personality traits would stand out in the mind of the customer? That's branding. Would you be someone they can trust? Would you be someone fun to be with? Think about it as what kind of a human persona you represent. Branding has to be done in good times and bad times. Your brand budget cannot be a percentage of sales. You have to keep advertising even during the downtime, so when the good times come back, you'll be one of the 3 or 4 names that they remember when they make the purchase. If you're not one of the 3 or 4 names that they remember, you will not get share of the wallet. Most human beings in any category, just think about the way you buy stuff. You remember only 3 or 4 names. We call that the choice set. Brands create that choice set. Brands create that share of mind. And if you're not one of the 3 or 4 brands, you've already lost the game. This has now become much more important on a global basis. Brands cannot be built by expensive advertising alone. That's a myth. Every time one of your employees interacts with a paying customer, you're building or destroying brand. And therefore, your employees should know what the brand essence is and what your company stands for. If internally as a corporation, you don't understand what the essence of the brand is, how can you convey it to a paying customer? So the first rule is know what you stand for, make sure every employee understands that, and make sure that every employee conveys it before they walk out the customer's door. Remember, when you buy from us, this is what you're paying for. A brand is the promise of an experience. It's no longer just with your products. It's with your people. And it's interactive. That's why today, if a poor experience with your company goes viral online, in 2 minutes it could destroy what you stand for. My final thoughts: find the right bell to ring and make that customer salivate over and over again. I know you don't have time for questions, but if you do, you see my email there. I'd be happy to respond to you. Take care. Thank you very much.